Rain lashed against the battered shutters of Althea's cottage, but the storm was nothing compared to the turmoil inside her. Her fingers brushed over the faded runes carved into the windowsill, a last remnant of a world when magic still shaped the land. That world was slipping away. A bang at the door made her jump. "Althea!" came the frantic whisper of Cowan, the town's youngest messenger, shoving a folded letter beneath the crack. She snatched it up, reading by the flicker of a half-starved flame. Factory lords from the city of Irongate were coming, tomorrow. They would start felling the outer woods, setting their iron machines against the ancient trees. The Verdant Heart, the ancient forest her mother spoke of in trembling tales, would not survive. But fear was not all that stirred within Althea. In her dreams, the grove's voice whispered in a language only she could hear, a promise of buried power. A new resolve straightened her spine. She draped her cloak over her shoulders and slipped outside into the lashing rain, pushing into the woods. "Please," she whispered to the darkness. Her palms tingled as if something old and powerful coiled beneath her skin. Branches parted, wind stopped, and the world stilled, except for one voice, deep and patient as old earth. "Althea," the grove sighed, its words woven with leaves and rain. "Danger approaches, but hope roots in unlikely soil." She stepped further, heart pounding. The trees shimmered, revealing ancient faces and glowing glyphs beneath the bark. They watched her with wary wisdom. "I'm not enough," she confessed, voice breaking. "You are not alone," the Verdant Heart replied. "Find allies, one who crafts with fire, one who speaks with wolves. The forest will guide you. But you must act before the axes fall." The message faded to memory as the dawn crept over the horizon. Althea stumbled back to the village, splattered with mud and determination. Tomorrow she would find the inventor and the druid. Tomorrow she would defy fate. Clutching the grove's whisper close, she faced the rising sun, unknowing whether hope would be enough. Morning came cold and sharp, cutting through Althea's nerves with the clang of distant metal. From the edge of Bellwood, the city of Irongate's work crews spilled, gray figures moving with purpose, their machines belching black smoke into the clean dawn air. Althea watched from the shadow of an ancient oak, heart hammering. She needed to move fast. The grove's warning tugged at her. She had two names, both half rumor, both hard to trust. But hope was rooted in unlikely soil, the grove had said. There was no time to hesitate. She hurried through the winding market lanes until she found the faded sign of Ellery Crane, the inventor. The windows buzzed with strange contraptions, metal birds beating iridescent wings, a fox made of copper gears stalking beneath counters. Althea slipped inside. The air crackled with magic and oil. At the workbench, a sharp-eyed man with gaunt cheeks was coaxing a blue flame beneath a metal owl's chest, muttering curses. "Ellery Crane?" He glanced up, suspicious. "You're the hedge witch's girl. You want charms? I don't make charms, not anymore." She shook her head. "I need your help to save the forest. The Verdant Heart speaks. It's in danger." Ellery scoffed. "Magic's not enough against saws and steel." "It's not just magic." Althea's voice wavered. "It's life itself. If the grove dies, so does all hope of renewal." Ellery hesitated, fingers stroking the metal owl. "They called me mad when I warned them. My machines," she was right, they said, "run on both science and a spark of the old power. You want help? You have it, but I'm coming too, and I'm bringing what I built." A pounding at the door made them both tense. Cowan ducked inside, breathless. "Soldiers, rounding up anyone asking questions." Althea nodded to Ellery. "We leave by dusk. Do you know where to find the druid?" He cracked a grin. "The wolf hermit? I've got some ideas. Meet me at dusk on the old game trail, and bring courage. He's not fond of strangers." She left the tinker's shop, hope flickering. But she felt the grove's quiet strength in her chest, roots deepening, arms stretching toward a fragile future. For the first time, she didn't feel so alone. Dusk painted the woods in gold and indigo as Althea crept along the old game trail, cloak drawn tightly around her. Ellery was already waiting, flanked by his mechanical menagerie, his copper fox trotting alertly at his side, a clockwork bird perched on his shoulder. "You're late," he said, but his tone was more anxious than angry. "You ready for this? The druid's not exactly welcoming." "I'm ready," Althea answered, voice stronger than she felt. They slipped into the wildwood, away from the hint of factory smoke and the echo of marching boots. Every step forward made the air cooler, thrumming with a hush only old growth could provide. Shadows shifted. Leaves seemed to whisper words only the heart could hear. A wolf's howl pierced the twilight, sending Ellery's fox into a defensive crouch. From the darkness, a tall figure emerged, wrapped in mossy furs, wolf at his side. His eyes were the gray-green of storm clouds, watchful and intense. "Why do you trespass here?" the druid growled. Ellery positioned himself between the druid's wolf and Althea. "We aren't here for trouble. The Verdant Heart sent her, and we need your help." Althea stepped forward. "The grove speaks. The city's men are coming to chop down the woods. The forest will die unless we act." The druid's gaze lingered on her. "Many claim to hear the heart. Most are liars. Prove the spirit speaks to you. A single truth only the forest knows." Sweat beaded on Althea's brow. She closed her eyes, reached through tangled roots of her mind, calling to the grove. Wind picked up, leaves stirring. The spirit's voice whispered, "Show him the oak's secret scar." Without thinking, Althea led the group to a gnarled old tree. Its trunk split to reveal a spiral, shaped burn etched in ancient times. "Here, the heart told me." The druid stared, surprise flickering before his features smoothed. "Only the chosen know where the lightning touched. I am Rowan, last keeper of the wild rites. If the heart has truly called you, I will help." He fixed them both with a grave look. "But know this, the forest's anger is not easily tamed, nor is the darkness stirring beyond its roots. If we fail, there will be nothing left for any of us." Althea nodded, her fear now tightly knotted with hope. Together at last, the unlikely trio pressed deeper into the forest, where roots held memories and fate crept quietly beneath every leaf. The moon cast pale beams through knotty branches as Rowan led them deeper into the Verdant Heart. Each step seemed to weigh heavier, the air shifting from gentle calm to thick expectation. Ellery's mechanical fox whirred softly, its glowing eyes sweeping the undergrowth. Althea heard distant engines rumble, a dark warning from the horizon. They stopped beside a clearing where a circle of standing stones nestled like giants' teeth. Moss covered ancient carvings, and the wind grew colder. Rowan paused, kneeling by the center stone. "This is where the old magic slumbers. If we wish to wake the guardians, you must bond with the grove." Althea frowned. "How?" Rowan drew a spiral in the soft earth. "You must listen, not with ears but with your heart. The spirit will test you." Ellery shifted uneasily, adjusting a copper beetle at his belt. "If you fall into a trance or turn into a tree or something, I'll drag you out." She managed a shaky laugh, then knelt where Rowan showed her. She closed her eyes, steadying her breath as the cold seeped in. Suddenly the weight of centuries pressed on her mind, a churning flood of bark, bird call, thunder, and sorrow. The grove's voice, 1,000 voices braided together. "Why do you seek us, child of fleeting flesh? What will you give?" Althea's lips trembled, but she answered aloud. "I seek your aid to save the forest. From axes, from fire, from forgetting. I will give what I must, my strength, my magic, my hope." Images flashed before her. A tidal wave of black machines, roots burning, children crying for vanished streams. But then, amid the devastation, a single sapling pushing through ashes. A surge of pain nearly flattened her, but she held tight to the image of renewal. The pressure lifted. Althea opened her eyes to see Rowan's hand steadying her shoulder, and Ellery watching anxiously. Rowan nodded, respect flickering in his eyes. "You did well. The grove has accepted your pledge." A low rumble shook the stones. Vines burst from beneath the earth, blooming into glowing flowers whose light etched runes in the air. A single seed pod fell into Althea's palm, warm, pulsing with power. Ellery grinned, relief sparkling. "Looks like you passed the tree test." But Rowan's voice was dread-soaked. "We've awakened the first guardian, but the magic was loud. The industrialists' scouts will come now, drawn by the power. We have little time." They huddled close, Althea's newfound courage trembling like the seed in her hand. Every choice now mattered, not just for the grove, but for the world it sheltered. The night swelled with tension as Althea, Ellery, and Rowan hustled away from the awakened stones. Vines now pulsed with silent warnings, footsteps disturbing moss, whispers carried by unnatural wind. The entire forest felt as if it were holding its breath, waiting. Ellery checked his clockwork fox, eyes darting. "If the scouts find us, they'll track us straight to the heart. We need to mislead them." Rowan nodded. "We'll lay traps, natures and machines. But first, the guardian must know its charge." Althea, you must plant the seed. Althea swallowed hard, cradling the seed pod. Glowing gold leaked from its surface, seeping into her skin. Where? The Tree of Dawns, Rowan replied, jutting his chin toward a distant hill. Oldest in the heart. Hurrying, they threaded through shadowed paths. Every snapped twig made Althea's heart stutter. Ellory's little machine scattered ahead. A scatter of metallic birds swooped through the brush, drawing off booted pursuers. In the distance, a thudding crash, one of his decoy traps giving the searchers a nasty but non-lethal surprise. At last they reached the Tree of Dawns, a giant oak twisted by centuries, its roots splaying like grasping hands. The bark shimmered silver in the moonlight. Rowan stepped back. Althea, the seed will know the way. Althea knelt and pressed the seed pod into a hollow at the oak's base. Light burst around her fingers. A voice rolled out, not just in her mind this time, but aloud, trembling with the power and pain of the ancient woods. Awaken, first guardian. Stand against the shadow. The roots of the oak twisted and pulled, forming a figure, towering, bark-skinned, eyes glowing green. It turned its gaze to Althea, voice reverberating. Who calls me to walk again? We do. Her voice shook as she stood tall beside Ellory and Rowan. The forest needs your strength. Machines come to cut, to burn. The guardian rumbled. Then I shall stand. But I am one. More must rise. Even as hope stirred, the sound of axes biting wood and men shouting shattered the moment. Althea's heart plunged. She knew it was only the beginning. But as the guardian turned, shoulders broad as boulders, even Rowan looked in awe. We'll rally the next guardians, Ellory hissed. Rowan, can you help the heart hide us as we move? The druid nodded, casting a silent spell of shadow and thorn. Now moving quietly through moon and fog, Althea felt something new, the spark of defiance. With the forest stirring to life beside her, she no longer felt like prey. The grove's whispers grew bolder. This night, hope marched alongside them. They moved by starlight, the forest alive with new energy. Behind them, the first guardian melted into the trees, its massive form camouflaged beneath layers of tangled leaves and shadow. Every crunch of boots or distant clang of metal chased them forward, haunted by the knowledge that the industrialists would not stop for dawn, nor for the cries of the wild. Althea gripped her courage as tightly as the old oak's bark. "Where's the next guardian?" she asked Rowan. Voice edged with urgency. He traced ancient patterns in the air. The heart remembers 3 places of power: the marsh, the stone well, and the sky clearing. The marsh guardian is closest, but it is wounded, its bond nearly broken. Ellory checked the gears of his copper fox and grimaced, "We'll need every trick, and a lot of luck." They slipped down old deer paths, Rowan weaving spells of silence and misdirection, Ellory tossing tiny clockwork mice to scatter the scent. The marsh, when they reached it, oozed fog and decay. Willows shrouded the water, their roots trailing like longing fingers, and silver mist clung to everything. Althea kneeled by a pool, heart pounding as she called out, "Spirit of the marsh, hear me!" The water stirred, parting slowly to reveal a willow-wreathed form, half submerged and heavy with grief. Its eyes blinked open, dull and pained. "Too late for me," it groaned, voice like rain on glass. "Poison in the water." Roots blackened. Althea pressed her hands to the earth. "Please, we've awakened your kindred. Help us, and I'll do all I can to heal you." Rowan produced a pouch of crushed herbs, whispering words so old even the air seemed to hold its breath. Ellory quickly assembled a filtration device above the water, gears spinning fast. Together they poured Rowan's concoction through the device. The water bubbled and spat as it was cleaned, just enough, they hoped. The marsh guardian's eyes brightened, green glowing fierce through the mist. It reached for Althea, pressing a tendril to her palm. "Pain remains, but hope lives. I will stand." As the guardian rose, body immense, a living bridge of willow and stone, the sound of engines grew louder behind them. Soldiers had breached the edge of the marsh. Ellory swore under his breath. "We can't stand and fight. Not yet." The marsh guardian leaned low, forming a living path through the drowning reeds. They sprinted across its back, hearts hammering, while the creature wove fog to hide them from pursuit. On the far side, safe for now, Althea turned back. The guardian met her eyes with gratitude. "Bring the others. The old magic is waking." For the first time, the forest song sounded less like a warning and more like a call to arms. Day crept over the horizon as Althea, Ellory, and Rowan pressed on, mud-caked and breathless from their escape across the marsh. Behind them, factory horns wailed. The industrialists knew the forest was fighting back now. Even the birdsong seemed charged, the very trees humming with anticipation. "The stone well is next," Rowan said quietly, scanning the thickening woods. "Its guardian is ancient, slow to rouse." Ellery squinted at the rising sunlight, "which also makes it the hardest to wake, and the hardest to keep hidden from our shadows." They traveled quickly, Ellery's metallic fox scouting and Rowan's magic concealing footsteps. At last, they reached a clearing overgrown with brambles and heavy stone. At its center, an ancient well stood surrounded by weathered stones, glyphs barely etched in lichen. Althea approached, the spirit's whispers guiding her hand to the mossy rim. "Guardian of the stone deep, the heart calls for you." For a moment, there was nothing. Then the ground trembled, and from the well's depths rose a rocky shape, its eyes sparkling like embedded crystals. The guardian's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Why do you wake me, when mortals abandon old ways?" Ellery stepped forward, voice steady despite his trembling hands. "We need you. Your kin stand again. The heart can survive if you join us." The stone guardian studied them, then looked to Althea. "Once you were many. Now you are few. Why fight for what men destroy?" Althea swallowed her doubt and bared her soul. "Because there is still good in both magic and invention. We seek a future where they grow side by side, not choke each other out. Let us show you." A tense silence hung, broken only by the distant drone of engines. At last the guardian's eyes softened. "Hope is fragile, yet here I stand, by your call." The ground surged upward as the guardian stepped free, looming over the grove. As it moved, nearby roots and boulders shifted, revealing caches of forgotten seeds, life waiting for permission to rise again. Suddenly, Ellery's fox let out a sharp metallic howl. "They're coming!" Ellery barked, glancing at Althea and Rowan. "We need to move, now!" The stone guardian bent protectively over the well, ready to defend its reborn territory. Rowan whispered to the wind, summoning a shield of thick branches, and Ellery's beetles scrambled to jam the gears of enemy scouts. As they ran deeper into the woods, Althea looked back one last time. The guardians now numbered 3, each a symbol of defiance, each tied to her courage. But the sky was smoke-streaked and the clash for the Verdant Heart was just beginning. "The last guardian remains," Rowan said, breath ragged. "The one who walks the wind." Smoke from the factories had begun to stain the sky a sickly gray, choking birdsong and casting uneasy shadows through the woods. Althea's feet ached, but she pressed on, is heartened by the visions and determination burning in her chest. Ellery's resolve had grown sharper, his machines responding almost intuitively to his needs. Rowan, though battered, seemed steadier now, a pillar of old wisdom given purpose again. They climbed a ridge slick with moss, where the trees thinned and the wind howled, a place Rowan called the Sky Clearing. Here, magic and air met in twisting currents, old energy crackling above the treetops. "This is where we call the Windwalker," Rowan said quietly, tracing a glyph in the dirt. "The Guardian is flight itself, the hardest to bind and the most needed." Ellery set up a circle of whirring fans, their blades shimmering with tiny fragments of enchanted crystal. "If the Guardian recognizes our intent, these will help focus the call. If not, well, hold on to your hat." Althea stood at the circle's heart, closing her eyes. She summoned the grove's whispers and shouted them skyward. "Spirit of the living wind, rise for the heart!" A storm gathered above, winds whipping leaves in a spiral. Thunder cracked. From the clouds descended a creature woven of mist and feathers and sunlight, a form shifting and radiant, blue eyes sparking with distant storms. The Windwalker's voice rolled across the clearing, both fierce and gentle. "Why would you awaken the tempest? For what future do you risk such wrath?" Althea faced the gale that threatened to knock her down. "Because without you the heart cannot stand. We need your strength, not to destroy the world of men, but to remind them of what's worth saving. If we hold together, nature and invention, there can be balance." Ellery stepped up, voice strong. "Let me show you." He tossed a tiny mechanical sparrow into the wind. It glided, wings catching the storm, a perfect union of gear and magic. The Guardian watched, intrigued. "The old pain runs deep," the Windwalker said, voice softer now, "but so does hope." It drifted lower, circling Althea, Rowan, and Ellery. "Very well, Heartcaller. Your plea is heard. You have my strength. for as long as balance is kept. Lightning danced, not as a weapon but a promise. The Windwalker's power roared through the wood, waking old spirits and scattering the stench of smoke for a breathless moment. The forest sang, not with fear but with possibility. But the wind carried warning too. From the southern edge came a rising drum of engines and the metallic ring of axes. The industrialists, furious now, were gathering for a final push. Rowan's face grew grim. The Guardians are awakened. Now we must hold the heart, no matter the cost. Althea reached for her friend's hands. For the first time, the magic was not just in the grove, but in their courage, their unity. The battle for the Verdant Heart would be fought together, and every root, whisper, and spark would count. Night pressed in, thick with the threat of steel and fire. The industrialists wasted no time. Rows of lanterns bobbed among the trees, shadows of soldiers sweeping through the undergrowth, axes gleaming. The hum of monstrous machines grew, rattling the roots themselves. Rowan whispered to the woods, calling thorn and bramble to slow the advance. Ellory's inventions whirred through the darkness, beetles hissing smoke, copper fox dashing between boots to snap at wires and laces, metal birds swooping low to confuse and distract. Still the enemy came, relentless and many. At the heart's center, Althea stood beneath the ancient tree of dawns, joined by the awakened guardians, stone, marsh, wind, and the towering oak. The forest shimmered, alive with old power, but the cost of such awakening shivered beneath her skin. Commander Hargrove of Irongate stepped forward, flanked by soldiers and smoking engines. "Surrender the grove," he called, his voice hard. "Magic is dead. Progress cannot be turned aside by tricks and superstition." Althea took a shaky breath, then answered with the heartbeat of the woods. "This land is not dead. It will not be silenced for your profits." Rowan and Ellory joined her, a united front. Hargrove sneered, signaling his troops. The woods erupted in chaos as axes fell and flames leapt up. The Guardians surged into action, the Stone One blocking machines with rooted fists, the marsh spirit flooding enemy ranks with sudden bogs, the Windwalker swirling gusts that sent tools scattering and smoke choking back on itself. Althea called on the heart, feeling power surge and her soul strain. She shaped magical barriers woven from ancient runes and living light. Her strength waned with every spell, the world blurring at the edges. "I can't hold much longer," she gasped to her friends. Ellory, battered and desperate, pulled a battered blueprint from his coat. The tree and the machine, they have to work together. With Rowan's blessing and Althea's nod, Ellory linked his machines with the heart's living roots, feeding the grove new energy. Magic and invention fused for the first time. Branches wound around gears, sap ran glowing down copper. The tide turned, but Hargrove, furious, lit a torch and hurled it at the heart itself. "If we can't have it, no one will." Althea dove forward, catching the torch, fire searing her palm. Pain blazed, but from it sprang a last well of power and memory, the grove's life flashing through her. She shoved the torch into the earth. "No more burning," she whispered. Light radiated around her, the heart pulsing as roots, stone, marsh, and wind all fused for one breathtaking moment. The flames faltered. Hargrove staggered back, blinded. The soldiers, shaken, faltered as the grove's spirit filled the clearing. The battle hung on a knife's edge. One final choice still to be made. Althea had found her courage and unity, and now, as dawn promised somewhere beyond the trees, it all depended on whether the world was ready to accept a new balance between old magic and new invention. Dawn crept over the horizon, painting the world in hopeful gold. Light filtered down through the battered canopy, revealing a grove transformed beyond anything Bellwood had ever known. The Guardians, stone, marsh, wind, oak, stood tall and proud, their wounds slowly healing where invention and nature now mingled. The air crackled with the charge of potential, the land alive with more than just memory. Commander Hargrove, stunned by the unnatural strength that magic and machine combined could wield, signaled a retreat. His soldiers melted back, eyes wide not with fear, but with awe and confusion. Their machines were jammed by roots and vines, now pulsing with glowing sap. For one trembling moment, all was silent, save for the healing song of the grove. Ellory dropped to his knees beside Althea, who was slumped against the Tree of Dawns, palms still blistered from the torch, but eyes bright. Rowan pressed a cool poultice to her hand and murmured, "You did it! You showed them a new way." Althea let out a shaky breath as the last of the grove's magic ebbed gently through her. Not just me. All of us. I couldn't have done it alone. Ellery grinned, wiping grime from his brow. For a moment the impossible seemed a little less impossible. Around them the villagers, wary but hopeful, filtered into the clearing, eyes wide at the sight of ancient powers and mechanical marvels intertwined. Some knelt in gratitude by the roots, others offered seeds, trinkets, or pieces of metal, uniting memories of craft and nature. Rowan straightened, voice carrying through the hush. Progress is not our enemy. Ignorance is. There will always be those who seek to force the world into one shape. But here, now, we show there's another path, one of balance. Althea struggled to her feet, guided by Ellery's steady arm. In that small act, the journey's cost and its gift was clear. She had started as a girl unsure and alone, afraid to trust her power. Now, surrounded by friends and possibility, she stood as a keeper of harmony, a living promise of hope. The guardians, seeing their heart defended, began to fade back into root and mist, though their presence lingered, watchful and patient. Children chased copper birds as they darted above blooming flowers. The first shoots of new saplings and restored machines gleamed in the sunlight together, each reliant on the other to become something stronger. A hush settled as Althea placed her blistered hand to the heart's bark. The spirit whispered, one last time, "Life grows where hope and courage are sown." The story of the Verdant Heart would echo for generations, a legend not of victory or defeat, but the triumph of unity, and of a future where whispers of the old world and dreams of the new grew side by side, resilient as any ancient tree.